House of the Dragon, based off the fictional history book Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, begins almost 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones. And while the series is indeed a prequel to Game of Thrones, you don't have to watch that show to understand what's happening here. But if you would like a recap for the recap, these are the Starks.
I would name you the Hand of the King.
These the Baratheons.
Bow before your king. Bow, you shits.
The Iron Throne is mine, by right.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la.
These are the Lannisters. And this is Daenerys Targaryen. Things happen, people have sex, people die, we get invested, George leaves due to creative differences. Where have I seen this before? The creators get hired to do a Star Wars, the creators end up not doing a Star Wars, final 2 seasons are rushed, lots of people are disappointed, and a prequel series is made to hopefully redeem the franchise in the eyes of the general audience. Season 1 of House of the Dragon did a lot of good to bring people back into Westeros after the interest in the series died with season 8 of Game of Thrones. It had everything. King Vizzy.
Fabulous. He's serving Targaryen realness.
Daemon's murder cloak. Otto doing his best Hollywood producer imitation.
The boy just turned 2, Otto. Yes.
And the most sapphic situationship this side of Essos. Season 1 of House of the Dragon served as the backstory for the Dance of the Dragons, a bloody civil war that saw the 2 sides of House Targaryen fighting over the Iron Throne. Team Black, which fights for Rhaenyra Targaryen, the eldest child of King Viserys, to be queen, and Team Green, which fights for Aegon Targaryen, the eldest son of King Viserys, to be king. Some say the war started when Aemon Targaryen was being a wanker and forgot the medieval nuke known as a dragon could not be controlled with a twink with a sexy eye patch. Some say the war started because Targaryens named all their damn children King Aegon, and Alicent was confused about what a dying, drugged out King Vizzy meant. Don't blame Aly. The Catholic guild is at war with the raging homosexuality inside of her. But personally, I think the war was bound to happen when King Viserys was chosen to be king over Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was, who was his elder, had the stronger claim, and would have been the better ruler, less able to be manipulated. But she didn't have a penis, and not having a penis in Westeros is almost as bad as not having a penis and being married to Renly Baratheon. You're not gonna get that far, honey. But enough recapping season 1, let's recap season 2, and if you like this video and want to see more of them, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be covering every episode of House of the Dragon season 2. They may take a little bit to come out, but we will finish the season. We start the season in Winterfell, a site the audience hasn't seen since Game of Thrones season 8. There's something beautifully nostalgic about being back at Winterfell, the land of the Starks, arguably the pursued protagonist of Game of Thrones, that gives off this feeling of going home for the first time in a long time. We're treated to voiceover from Cragen Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, as he explains the duty of the Night's Watch to Jace Velaryon, son of Rhaenyra Targaryen, and heir to the throne if she wins the war. Jace, who has gone through an entire puberty between seasons, urges Cragen to remember the vows his father pledged to his grandfather Viserys, and by extension his mother, to fight for Rhaenyra's claim to throne if it was ever disputed. Cragen reminds Jace of the Stark's unofficial other house word, the North remembers, while also reminding him winter is coming. The North is needed to protect the realm from threats beyond the wall, not just of wildlings, a group of people who live in the wilderness of the North, but a threat that even the dragons of old, dragons that made the Stark kings initially bend the knee and lose their crowns, would not dare to face. To give Jace's men to fight, a Stark's vow is their honor, and their honor is their life. The meeting is interrupted by a raven, bringing news of Jace's younger brother's death, Lucerys Velaryon, death by Vhagar. That we saw at the end of season 1. Vhagar BTW is just this giant flying Godzilla. Rhaenyra had sent Luke to Stormfront to gain favor with House Baratheon, thinking it would be an easy task for him, but instead he ended up as some undercooked, strong meat for Vhagar. Visenya? Why does this meat taste strong? Also, why do you have a cock? At Dragonstone, Rhaenys Targaryen and her dragon Meleys return from protecting the border from the Greens. Matt Smith in a wig, tired of Rhaenyra searching for the remains of her gobbled up son, tells Rhaenys that they need to shape up, lock in, and get back at the Greens. Rhaenys reminds Daemon that Rhaenyra must mourn in her own way, like she did when she heard the news of her daughter and Daemon's ex-wife Laena's death. Eventually, Daemon loses his cool though, and orders Rhaenys to follow him into battle, but she reminds him that he is not the king, and he has no authority over her. At Driftmark, we catch up with Corlys Velaryon. We also meet a soldier by the name of Alan of Hull, who ended up saving Corlys' life when he received that injury last season. For fans of the book, Fire and Blood, you should already know who the soldier is, and while he'll be important later. For those who don't know, I'll just give you one hint. We cut over to King's Landing to see Queen Regent Alicent Hightower using Kristen Krispy Kreme Cole as a medieval dildo. And with that, the Cream Tower ship was born. It will not last long. It will die faster than Viserys' firstborn child. Was that too soon? That's too soon. Alicent finishes and tells Crispy this will be the last time. Interesting detail about this scene, beyond every man and woman getting hot and bothered for Olivia Cook's Alicent Hightower, is that you can see Alicent has begun picking her nails again, and she's still wearing her wedding ring to Viserys, showing that she's under considerable stress to revert back to her childish ways of dealing with her problems. And despite using Krispy Kreme as her bearded Rhaenyra pillow, she has yet to completely let go of Viserys, the man she was married to as a child bride. Yes, I know it's fucked up, but welcome to Westeros. Another interesting thing to note is how Alicent helping Krispy Kreme get dressed echoes back to her helping Rhaenyra get dressed back into the first season. But while that was an intimate moment shared between two girls that hinted at their relationship being more than just platonic, even if they themselves didn't realize it, her treatment of Kristen is cold, mechanical, and even reluctant. Alicent is a character that hasn't been freed since she was ordered to comfort the king all those years ago as a teenager, and even now in adulthood, she's forced to play the game she has never wanted to play. Her biting off her own nails and sexual relations with Kristen are shown to be the same thing, a minor stress relief that does more long-term damage instead of good. Next we have Aegon II looking for his son Jaehaerys, named after his grandfather. It's interesting to note that when Aegon enters the room, the handmaidens all freeze. It's unknown if this is because Aegon has a history of assaulting other handmaidens in the past, or because his sister wife Helena, yes I said that right, doesn't want her young son attending the council, and they're in fear of his temper at hearing no. You can also hear Helena saying, "They only want the boy," referring to the character's blood and cheese. Helena is a seer, which means she can see glimpses of the future, but has no context for it. None have been able to understand what she means by these foreboding messages, not even herself, until it's too late. The scene ends with Helena saying she's not afraid of the dragons, but the rats, further foreshadowing blood and cheese, one of which is a rat catcher who works within the Red Keep that you can see throughout the episode here and there. The council goes over their allies they've made to Aegon's claim to the throne, and the houses that have not responded to them as of yet, while Old Town, the Westerlands, and Baratheons have all sworn to Aegon. Winterfell and the Eyrie, the lands of the Stark and the Arryns respectively, have given no word, the implication being that they have sided with Rhaenyra. Alicent asked if any of her letters to Rhaenyra have gotten any response, but sadly, none of them have. The Kinslayer himself, Aemon One Eye, swaggers into the council meeting, acting as if he didn't just start a war with his young Matt Smith in a longer wig looking ass. Alicent, still mad for her son starting war crimes, tries to get him to leave, but Aegon says, nah, it'll be fine. Aemon makes his suggestion that they take the Riverlands, citing any attack would go through there, and if they control Harrenhal, they control the Riverlands. Aegon is all for this plan, eager to take the dragons and burn some people to death. The war crimes run in the family after all. Alicent and Krispy Kreme disagree with this plan, for various different reasons. Crispy because he doesn't want Aegon to be killed in the line of duty and get himself crispy. Alicent because Granny Vhagar is needed at King's Landing to deter any attacks since she is the biggest and strongest dragon in Westeros, besides the cannibal that is.
Not now. We'll talk later.
Aegon asks why didn't they just kill Rhaenyra when they had the chance, and Otto shoots his daughter what the kids would call a bombastic side-eye, knowing that he wanted to kill Rhaenyra when he had the chance, but Alicent's lady boner for her situationship did not allow him to. Otto reminds Aegon that diplomacy is how they'll win the war right now. One thing to note during the meeting is while Aegon is being Aegon, using all three of his brain cells to be, well, Aegon, the simple pleasure he has just from watching Jaehaerys fuck with Tyrion Lannister is rather wholesome. Aegon Aegon's relationship with his parents was never a great one. His father transparently always cared for his first family over his new one, and his mother was a child bride, pressured into doing her duty and forcing out heirs when she didn't even want to be a mother or married to Viserys in the first place. This left a feeling of inadequacy that never really went away. Aegon, like all his other siblings, are products of their environment, a reflection of the trauma and uncertainty passed down to them from the generations beforehand, something we'll see even more with Aemon and Helena in episode 2 and 3. After the meeting, Alicent is approached by Larys Strong, the creepy little finger of the show. He tells her that he's gotten rid of all the spies within the Red Keep that couldn't be trusted and replaced them all with his own people. Alicent, reacting like she always reacts to creepy finger, doesn't visibly say anything, but is disturbed. It's not even clear if they were really spies that Alicent had to worry about, or if Larys was just putting his own spies around the Red Keep that were loyal to him and not the crown or the queen. Like Cersei giving the High Sparrow power in Game of Thrones, Alicent, in a desperate need for an ally, created a monster that she can't control. Only unlike Cersei, who is even more ruthless and did not care about blowing up the medieval fantasy Vatican, Alicent is afraid of Larys, keeping him around, less because she wants to, but because she is fearful what Larys would do to her or her family. Later, when Alicent is bathing, she sends all her servants away and starts roughly bathing herself. Initially, I didn't think much of this scene, thinking she just didn't trust the spies of Larys and wanted some privacy. But it's also the fact that it's heavily implied she is disgusted by Criston Cole, and she was ashamed of the sin she did by sleeping with him. So in a way, she could be trying to wash away the sin that's going nowhere. At Shipwrecker Bay, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen finally finds proof that her son Luke is indeed dead. Rhaenyra clutches her son's torn cloak and cries, her dragon Syrax joining in her rider's pain. Back at King's Landing, Aegon meets with the people, as they all ask various things from their king. He's flanked by people who probably definitely have names, but I'm just going to call him his gooners. While meeting with the people, Aegon is actually rather polite and sympathetic to hearing what they have to say, and at first I thought he was doing a bit. I was going to turn into some Joffrey-level asshole during the meeting, but no, Aegon is actually trying to hear the people out and do his best by them. And while Otto keeps correcting Aegon to be more stern with the public, Aegon seems reluctant, not wanting to be seen as a cold king, once again showing that despite being a little shit, there is more to Aegon than what's on the surface. On a side note, everything Otto does is unironically funny and hilarious, because he is so fed up with his family, a communist grandson and a lesbian daughter. You sure hit the jackpot, Otto. As Aegon and his gooners are leaving the throne room after a hard day of being the 1%, they are stopped by Creepyfoot, who pulls him aside to whisper sweet scheming bullshit into Aegon's ear. In Otto's chamber, Alicent is waiting for her father, doing her best to mend things between them, after she refused to kill her Rhaenyra. Yes, her Rhaenyra. They more or less want the same thing, but have two different ways of going about it. Alicent also warns Otto of the dangers of undermining her in front of Aegon and Aemon. Alicent knows the horrors her son could bring to Westeros if they were left unchecked, and she knows that she can rein them in as long as she can reach them. But if Otto continues to undermine them, that power will be lost. Back at Dragonstone, Mysaria the White Worm was found stowing away on one of the ships and is now being held prisoner. Daemon, her old lover and someone who used to use her as a pawn, demands to know everything of Otto Hightower's plan, but Mysaria informs him that everything was just business, and she was never an ally of the Hightowers or anyone. Sir Eric Cargyle, who I'm definitely pronouncing it wrong, who was the one who found Mysaria, tries to vouch for her. He recently binged season 1 and remembered how she was so helpful to him in that season. Daemon, being Daemon, is feeling extra Daemon today and behaves like how Daemon always behaves.
Forgive me, man.
I reckon our names of the King's Guard are just 8 and 10. And we swore the same oath. To defend the whole of the royal family. So what were we to do when they turn against one another?
With barely any lines this episode, Emma Darcy is a powerhouse, conveying endless pain and suffering with just their eyes and body language. Out of everyone in the entire cast, Emma is one of the standouts in every scene, and given where the season will take their character, I don't see that changing. Emma is fantastic, and I love seeing them on screen. Rhaenyra and her family hold a funeral for Luke at a mountaintop Valyrian altar on Dragonstone, having no surviving body to cremate. They burn his clothing and his belongings. Rhaena Targaryen watches the fire, mourning over her Brezin, which is a brother and a cousin, and her lost love. Yes, they were going to get married too. This is Westeros, guys. Stop. Just get used to it. At the same time, Alicent is praying at the Grand Sept in King's Landing. She lights a candle for her dead mother, her late husband, and finally, for Luke.
Viserys Florian.
We see Daemon sneak into King's Landing, wearing the murder cloak, so you already know there's gonna be at least one dead body that turns up this episode. Daemon meets up with a guard, only known as Blood, who introduces him to a rat catcher named Cheese, someone we've seen throughout the episode in the background a few times here and there, and also the best doggo in the world. Daemon hires Blood and Cheese to kill Aemon One Eye, because he killed Luke. When asked what they should do if they can't find Daemon, Daemon smirks, but we cut away before we get an objective answer to what Daemon said. Blood and Cheese sneak through the tunnels built by Maegor the Cruel and find themselves in the Red Keep as Aegon is cracking open a cold one with the boys. There is an old wise tale that the Iron Throne rejects those who are unworthy to sit on its throne. We see that with Viserys, who cuts himself multiple times on the chair, the first time being after he sacrificed his wife for a chance to save his son at the Maester's request, but lost them both anyway. Yet here we have Aegon just propped up on the throne like a lounge chair. Mind you, Aegon also has, or at least had, a habit of doing some really horrible things to the servants of the castle that would land him on Law and Order, medieval SVU. But then again, most of the people in Westeros are terrible people who play their highborn games while the commonborn suffer. It's one of the recurring themes of the entire franchise. The royals are not supposed to be seen as gooder than good. They're supposed to be seen as usually sloppy, messy people who use the realm as their battleground. This is my long-winded way of saying stop trying to find a hero character among a cast of wealthy aristocrats fighting over a pointy chair with flying nukes. In the upper levels of the Red Keep, Aemon and Krispy Kreme are discussing battle plans. Aemon complains that his mother blames him for starting a war, but he points out that it was Alicent who pushed for Aegon to be king, which was what led to the family splitting up in the first place. Aemon states that Alicent is torn between the duty she has as the mother of the king she put on the throne and the love she has for Rhaenyra. I'm not completely sure what type of love Alicent has for Rhaenyra, and to be fair, the characters in universe, even Alicent, don't seem to know as well. It's just a known fact that Rhaenyra has always had a place in Alicent's heart that is visible to everyone, including her children. Krispy Kreme, resentful still over the fact of how things ended with Rhaenyra, insults her to Aemon, and Aemon's reaction is interesting, or rather, his lack of reaction. There's been a recurring moment throughout the series that whenever Krispy insults Rhaenyra, obviously looking for agreement, he's met with either silence, like how with Aemon now and later Aegon, or he's reprimanded, like by Alicent. Krispy makes it painfully obvious that his hatred for Rhaenyra is tied more to a personal vendetta than anything to do with duty, honor, or even the war, and everyone can see it. Their reaction also echoes to Daemon's reaction to Corlys insulting Viserys early in season 1. The Targaryens can have their personal issues with each other, but they are still family. The blood of the dragon runs through their veins, and even when they hate each other, it's their hatred, not some outsiders. I guess this won't be Cream Tower 2.0. Side note, how weird is it to hold a conversation with the son of the woman you're railing? Is it like eating the single mother's kids' fruit snacks after banging the mom and then just going to watch Law and Order? Just wondering. Otto, already peaked fed up with his dumbass family, kicks Krispy Kreme out for being the realm's worst Kingsguard and sends him to his post. The two bumbling idiots known as Blood and Cheese are lost, and Cheese admits he only knows his way around the main levels. Blood loses it, reminding Cheese that they need to go find the royal chamber to find one of the royals. They exit through a passage and find themselves where Aemon and Krispy just were, yet are now both gone. After running into not Emma Stone, Blood and Cheese finally find a royal, but it's poor Helaena Targaryen. Cheese holds a knife to her throat, and Blood reminds him Daemon's orders were a son for a son, not a royal for a royal. The pair order Helaena to tell them which one of her children is her son. Helaena is overwhelmed. Fia Sabin does an excellent job portraying a wide range of emotions with only her eyes. Helaena is panicked, yet doing her best to not disassociate and diffuse the situation as best as she can, even offering her necklace, a very expensive one, which they sadly deny. Eventually, Helaena relents, having no choice in wanting to at least try to save her daughter, and tells Blood and Cheese which one of her children is her son. Jaehaerys wakes up in his bed during all the chaos, but only with enough time for a hand to be placed over his mouth when he starts panicking and screaming as he's stabbed to death, his mother forced to watch. Helaena grabs her daughter and quickly flees, but not before the sight of her son's head getting sawed off reaches her ears. She makes her way through the royal chambers, finding no guards, no help, and finally, she stumbles upon her mother's chambers, only to walk in at Alicent in the middle of having sex with Criston Cole, the implication being that Criston sent away all the guards so he could lay with the queen some more. Helaena, though, has completely disassociated at this point and doesn't even react. She crumbles to the floor, holding her daughter close and says,
"They killed the boy."
Thank you to Molly, Steffi, M, Lola, Rhea, Jason, the Cloney Boy, and all my Patreon and YouTube supporters, my channel manager Chloe, Frank the FBI agent who judges all my life choices and internet history, and all of you who commented, liked, and watched my videos in the past. It means a lot. No matter what time you're watching this. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you for the next video.